Okay. Um, yeah, I was saying that we are experimenting with Restream today. So if you've been following this, you should realize by now that we've been struggling with just the setup. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been trying to use the live stream feature of YouTube directly, but we've had a lot of hiccups. So we are experimenting with Restream today, and we'll be making subsequent experiments going forward as well. Now I can't figure out if there are people online already. I can't figure out if the chat feature. But yeah, kindly, if you are watching this, just drop a message to let me know. I think I will receive it here. Like hopefully, fingers crossed. So there's a lot to talk about today. So be prepared. This stream is going to be lengthy. It's potentially going to last for an hour plus. All things being equal, right? So if there is no malfunction somewhere, yeah. So there's a lot to talk about, and I will just get into that. Let me give this one more minute to see if we can have more people join us. Then we start. And by the way, I'm excited about today. We are going to talk about just the obviously the recent happenings in Nigeria, then the coloniality in Kenya, the coup in Guinea-Bissau, and the insurgency in the Sahel, right? I think we should spend some time to just dive in and um, figure out exactly what is going on, right? Because I think it is very critical to our struggle, our revolution ahead, right? I think the current struggle going on in those places will play quite critical roles in our struggle as well. Um, no chat yet, no nothing. So no way to tell if there are others on this on the stream with me. So yeah, I'll just start. So the first topic today is going to be we are going to be talking about the appointment of the president of Nigeria. So and by the way, it's quite it was a lucky break that I caught the fact that I mean there was no audio. Otherwise, I would have been talking for like ever without figuring this out. So yeah, where is it? Where is it? Yeah, here you are. There you are. So the president of Nigeria appointed a bunch of people, and the sentiment online has been just the list is disappointing, right? And also the fact that it took the government 2 years to make this ambassadorial appointment, and the list has disappointed a lot of people, but not the politically conscious among us. If you are conscious, if you know what's up, you shouldn't be disappointed whatsoever, right? Because it is part of the larger paradigm, the larger pattern that so there is a massive state corruption, nepotism, and these people are rent seekers. So you can't expect you can't expect the gatekeepers, the managers, the people who live, who are building patronage network, who have built their career on patronage network, to all of a sudden start acting differently. What you should be think what this kind of output should the way you should perceive this kind of output is they are just validating your consciousness, what you know deep down, what you already fundamentally, I mean, your conviction, right? It is just a validation. There would always be, yeah, there will always be a lot of stuff like this, and we'll keep talking about things like this on this show. And it's not to just talk, it is to, um, it is to furnish our consciousness for the revolutionary work, the revolutionary actions ahead, right? So, and that's the essence of this show. That's the essence of this live stream that we started this weekly. The other news is there's this analyst that I've been following recently. So he made some revelations. He said the Nigerian government, right, had reached an agreement with the United States. And this is it is not surprising again, but for those who still believe in the sovereignty of the Nigerian nation, right? Maybe those people are worried, but it is not surprising. This the rules of the Christian genocide, the root cause that the United States president and his Emewa, his entourage, his advisors, is the people. It's political machinery basically, and the U.S. media, like the noise, it had always been about getting Nigeria to the table, forcing Nigeria to the table, right? And apparently this is how it is shaping, this is how it is proceeding. Basically, the national security advisor went and met with the Secretary of Defense of the United States. So, and according to private source familiar with the military deal between the United States and Nigeria. This guy is, like, I just started following him, so I don't know if it's the real deal. But his profile states that he's chap, and it deals with all things West Africa. So, like a security analyst and whatnot. But we'll see. But anyway, he said that there's a military deal between the United States and Nigeria. The United States will be allowed to conduct UAV airstrikes, right, against terrorist targets in Nigeria. This deal, it has not been announced whatsoever. So, like, it is under the radar. Like, if it is indeed true, but like it is it is not so far-fetched. It is something reasonable to expect, considering the circumstances. It is something even predictable. So the scope only is, it includes unmanned aircraft, not fighter jets or bombers right now. But obviously, it can progress. They can quickly scale up the operation. So, and why do we say this is evidently a symptom, a signal that, again, you are letting go of some of your sovereignty? Actually, the better way to put it is there has never been any sovereignty, right? Because if Nigeria is a sovereign state, it will be able to take care of business, in the sense that be the only nation within, or be the only entity within its borders to have a monopoly of violence, take care of insurgents, take care of the internal insecurity issue, things along those lines, right? So if once you fail in, and that's a fundamental responsibility of a state, so once you fail in that aspect, you have definitely, like, lost a lot of credibility and sovereignty. It's that simple. So to start with, this nation, it has never had sovereignty. But these things are just formalities, ways to make things more palatable to the naive among us. So, yeah, it is just again, it is instructive, for lack of a better term. And the main thing is even what this guy said thereafter. He said that there is a lot more on this agreement between the two entities that I can't share now, but will very likely appear in following months. And we are looking forward to, like, seeing how this unravels. So, like, yeah, but I don't think anything that um, comes out in the subsequent months will be surprising whatsoever. Yeah. So the next thing on my list is yeah, like the coup in Guinea-Bissau. So there was a coup in Guinea-Bissau, and apparently, right, the president himself orchestrated the coup. He most likely lost the election and then collaborated with his close allies in the military and surrendered power to them. Uh, and the shenanigan, right? Like according to some sources, and the whole coup thing, right? It's at this point in time, it is, how will I put it? It should no longer make headline because this is going to be, I mean, we should get more familiar with this new reality, right? Like the internal contradictions in like most of these states, it's getting to a critical point. Like not it is not necessarily, it has not necessarily gotten to an untenable state, right? Because once it gets to that, that's when we'll get our own, we'll have our own revolution. That's when the masses will be truly empowered, right? That's when the masses, like the scale will fall from the masses um um eyes, and they will follow the lead of the revolutionaries among us, the conscious, the people who have determined, who have realized that there is a neo-colonial, the coloniality of all these African states is what is holding everybody down, right? And so basically, and it is this colonialism that is creating these contradictions, this need, these coups, these power plays, these people like centralizing power, people like Paul Biya, people like the Tanzanian woman, the people, the Ivory Coast president. We talked about this, some of these things in one of our, I think, two streams ago, right? That the masses, they protested some of these election results, right? And that if they are conscious enough, what if they are conscious to, like, if their consciousness reach a certain threshold, they would realize that they need to dismantle the entire state, not even challenging the validity of an election or the validity of the election results, right? The state itself must be wrenched. It must be like totally reconstituted. So that's like from top to bottom, right? So that's what the African masses need. So, and until that is realized, until we get to that point, right? Like everything is just child's play, just repetition of the cycle until the contradictions become untenable. And it is that point that we are waiting for, right? Like our work, obviously, our duty is to expedite these things, right? To expedite, to make the to force the issue, for lack of a better term, again. But that's the that's the whole point, basically. These schools, these challenging the election result, going to court, so things along those lines, right? Or waiting for international observers or foreign intervention. These things won't solve the fundamental problems that confront us. The large scale poverty, injustice, the separatist movement, the lack of internal cohesion, the massive, large scale, widespread, rather, widespread economic inequality. These symptoms, these conditions, they are they are the result of the coloniality of all African states. All the African states are still colonial, and it is worsening. It is getting worse and worse. So that basically, like, not to sound like a broken record at this point. So basically, um that's what's up. That's what's up. So yeah, like, and I made a video. Was it this week? This week, yeah. I made a video on like I made a video on the colonial mentality of just chasing the Guinness World Records, right? Like, so a bunch of it has gotten to that point, right? Like, I where something has to be said. I don't usually make social commentary videos, right? Like, at least I've not. Uh, we don't usually make it at Nubia Society because, like, yeah, like, there are a lot more people who are more suitable for that role. So, but this is important, right? Like, this is just because it's symptomatic. It is just like a symptom of the colonial mentality that it's well entrenched, well established among, particularly the African elites, which should know better. And this video is a knee-jerk reaction to just um, their lack of their lack of panache, their lack of competence, their lack of consciousness, right? But again, it is not even surprising. Like I said, even in the video, Franz Fanon said it in the Record of the Art, and his analysis is like on point, totally. Said it that the African elite, the national bourgeoisie, they are just going to want to replicate, imitate their counterparts in the developed nations, Europe, now China, things along those lines, right? Like, oh, they want to just um, bury themselves in entertainment and pleasure, like chase stupid stuff without earning these things. At least the national bourgeoisie there, right? Like, even though they might be decadent and whatnot at this point in time, they laid the groundwork to a large extent for the development of their countries, like through the capitalist system and whatnot, right? So, but yeah, these people are middlemen. They are just managers of like a neo-colonial structure, right? And they take rents. They help the foreign interest and like yeah, they help and I don't even know what to call the ruling class in the country, right? Because they don't have like an economic base to start with. So we can't say they are super great capitalists as well, super great at creating value, whatnot, right? So, but anyway, the major task, their major role is to just facilitate the extraction of resources. And we'll talk about the coloniality of the Kenyan state this week on this stream. Because this week, there were a lot of things that came to our radar, and like when you aggregate all these things and you put them together, you realize that like, oh, a particular segment should be dedicated to just or the coloniality of Kenya. I think it is one of the most colonial states that we have in Africa right now. Even though the Nigeria or like all South Africa, all these states like also like they I mean, it would be interesting, right? It would be very fascinating to create sort of like an index to be able to track this thing. Let's say an index of zero, a scale of zero, from a scale of 0 to 1, right? Being able to just obviously it might not be very accurate, right, or precise, but the essence is to just have a good understanding, a good grasp of the of the coloniality, right? To be able to have a measure, a barometer, a way to measure these things. But yeah, like what I was trying to say is that, in our opinion, Kenya is one of the most colonial states that we have right now in Africa on the continent, and even like in the Caribbean and whatnot, right? And a big part of this can be attributed to the colonial history of Kenya, right? Because and maybe also like um, its geography, right? Its geography and like its history, relative to like countries like even Nigeria, right? Like, but again, when we get to that segment, we'll explore this at length. Is there anybody here? Hard to tell. 20 minutes already. Okay. So yeah, like the next thing on my agenda is what? So yeah, there's this interesting article on the Boko Haram guy, Shek Abubakar Shekau. So um it was trending on Twitter some days ago. I think it's a bit informative. Although there's no new insights. But if you've not seen this, you should probably just spend some time go through go through the article. So I noted some things, right? Yeah, that like I want to just read to you. Like it It states that many observers objected to Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations, precisely because the data shows that for every two Christians killed or enslaved, as many as eight Muslims have suffered the same fate. I don't know how exact this data is, right? And again, I see the point, I get the point. And when we talk about the insurgency in Sahel, right, we will revisit this conversation with this particular thing. That like this incident, this so-called terrorists are that's not the the right label, right? You could potentially see them more as political activists, right? In the context of Africa and in the context of the Sahel. So they are killing equally and like maybe even more, like Muslims and like the Christians, and they are killing Africans basically. There are no Christians, there are no Muslims, they are only Africans. So they are killing Africans. So all these kill two Christians, kill eight Muslims, all those things are redundant, irrelevant. The main thing is that like, oh, Africans are getting killed, right? And it can even be argued that like who is actually responsible for like the death of these Africans? Like, is it not the government? Is it not the government's ineptitude, the government's fecklessness that is responsible for the rampage? If the government is competent, if the government has not created this level of instability or like poverty, we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't let me jump the gun. So yeah. Anyway, to continue, it states that this underscores that Boko Haram's violence is not only sectarian, but also profoundly political and ideological. Exactly the point, right? So it is targeting all Africans. It is indeed political, and there is an ideology behind it. Yeah, like it's a good read. Actually, it's a good read. So um, there are some cogent points there. So I think this is when he re-emerged. This was when this was after he went into hiding. Once the main guy, the main leader of the sect was killed, and a lot of their members too were killed extrajudicially, right? And again, the the responsibility for this movement falls squarely on like the state, the government of the country, right? Because where there is no justice, where justice is not properly carried out, when the rules are not properly followed, then whatever you get, you get. Um, if you want to demand equity, or how do they say it, you must come with a clean hand. The the sect, if you quote and unquote, you might call them extremists, right? But the thing is, if you want to prosecute extremists, prosecute them with the law, right? Follow the law to the letter. um Now, these people, they were killed extrajudicially. They were they felt they were aggrieved basically, and it could be argued that that even further radicalized them. So basically, you you the by virtue of the extrajudicial killing, you ensured that more killings, more injustice, more destabilization, things along those lines, right? You basically just incentivized it, or basic. That's not even like the proper term. You basically, what's the word? What's the word? You basically guaranteed it, right? You basically did. So, and yes, everything thereafter is like it's just like it's just a a pointer to the fact that the people, these leaders, right, they are not interested in what is necessarily best for the people, for the African people, for the people in their custody. They just want to like extract as much as they possibly can, and as much as they possibly can get away with. That's the that's the motivation. That's the guide. That's what is guiding all their decisions. Otherwise, right, they will have foresight. They would understand the implications of certain decisions, certain actions, right? And like again, this applies to the security agencies as well. Um anyway, enough on Shekau. You, if you are interested in the, I will share the link now. So in case you are interested in just reading up on the article. Chat, where is it? So it's 30 minutes already. Oh boy. How do you tell if there are people in the chat? How do you tell? How do you tell? There should be a mechanism, isn't it? Yeah, there are two, I think. What was this? No, 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 no. That's not the case. Okay, so let's get to some of the interesting things I saw that came to our radar this week. So yeah, let's go to straight to daily Farotimi's live streams. So there were two super back to back live streams like that I followed, and I think again, if you should check them out. I just want to um in case you don't know this is going on. So just check the streams out like Save Our Souls SOS, right, and the Nation of Liars, the Nation of Liars. So they are really good. Like yes, particularly if you reside, right, if you inhabit Nigeria, then it will even be more relatable. But for any African, it is yeah, like because all African states, right, like they are prototypical. So basically, you can literally replace the 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 names with, but I mean, just the fundamentals are the same. So like the analysis for Nigeria applies to Kenya, it applies to South Africa, applies to Tanzania, to Congo and whatnot, right? So yes, SOS, right? SOS particularly was is its last stream, and it talked about at the end of it all, the necessity, the need to, sorry. So it talked about the need to organize, right? And exactly this is what we are doing at Nubia Society. At least we are organizing. We have an ideology. We have thesis. We know Again, if you are interested in our thesis in the work we are doing, um, check check out our manifesto page, nubiasociety.github.io. So you can read more about just what we think and like what we know, what we know, what we are doing about like what we know. So yeah, like organize. Otherwise, right, we will perish. We are like this. These are critical times. This we can't afford to continue this way, right? We need to radically change the current the current status quo. We need that. So SOS call to anybody who is conscious, right? Who cares? Who because there are a lot of sellouts among us. There are a lot of people who have zoned out. There are a lot of people who have already um, um, who are complicit, who are complicit consciously, deliberately or otherwise, right? By their inaction, by their action, by their sabotage, by their things along those lines, right? So again, be conscious and like once you are conscious, once you are angry about like this, because you can tell once you have that awakening, that awareness, right? Like you know that you need to stem the tide, otherwise confronting what will confront us in the future, what we'll be faced with will be far worse, right? It will be existential. It's already existential. It will get to like the extinction point, basically. And this is this is not. I'm saying this without any hyperbole whatsoever. This is fact. Again, stay conscious. Or not even stay conscious, be conscious. And once you are conscious, stay conscious, like understand fundamentally, like try to investigate, try to understand the colonial nature of these states, right? Not just the symptoms, the leaders are corrupt, the this and that. Understand why they are corrupt, the reason why, like the fact that the economic and the political structure itself is it has been structured so that it will always produce things like this. Guys, give me a minute. So yeah, I'm back. Now let's talk about this interesting tweet. So there was this tweet about a Swiss mining company, in Zambia, who got rich and built a modern city off the proceeds of its mining in Zambia. And the mine itself, where the mine is situated in Zambia, right, is languishing in poverty and whatnot. But like, I don't know the veracity, and like the veracity of the whole thing doesn't matter. Like it is like this super trade on just the neocoloniality of things, right? That is what it's even more fascinating. And I want us to go through like the entire thread, because it is cool. It is cool. So the theory of explaining how some things in this world work, so you can ask why. I don't really get that. But anyway, as it stands today, Africa's GDP sits at $2.8 trillion, right? That's their own valuation. That's their own assessment. So Yes, what is this? Yes. Okay. Yes, the entire continent, right? So 50% of this GDP comes from three countries out of 54. I think South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt or so. So it used to be four, maybe Morocco in addition. Maybe, most likely. So, and for context, right, the scale of Apple is $4.1 trillion. Is that not like crazy, right? Nations, countries with natural wealth, stupendous natural wealth, and incredible human potential. Their entire productivity is about $2.8 trillion, and the market cap of a company that is employing, let's say, 100,000, 50,000 people, right? You have, if you combine the population of Congo, Nigeria, Ethiopia, South Africa, Kenya, right? Like maybe you have a billion plus, or close to a billion, right? Give or take. So, and their GDP is not up to, in combined, is not up to like the total productivity, or at least the total value, ascribed value of Apple, which employs, let's say, 4 trillion, which employs, let's say, 100,000 people. Is that not like so lopsided, so ridiculous, so, yeah, so alarming? Yes, so alarming, right? And she continued. In fact, major tech giants are valued at over 2 trillion as of today. Why does this matter? Like the major tech giants she's referring to are probably Nvidia, Google, blah blah blah, right? So let me just, so that we don't dwell on this too much or spend too much time here. Let's skim through. So yeah, like this question is really important. Does a GDP of 2 trillion mean that Africa only produces $2.8 trillion of value annually? I mean, that's the exact question. Is that the annual productivity of Africa? And again, like, you look at, use my framework, the population size, the endowment, the natural endowment, the human potential, or like of countries in Africa. And like if you compare with, let's say, Apple, like any big, any FANG company in America, or like any of like these big tech giants, even Huawei, like any big conglomerate itself, they it's just very outrageous, right? So Nigeria, Libya, Gabon, with all their resources in diamond, oil, blah blah blah, right? And in reality, Africa, according to, I think, anyway, in reality, Africa produces close to $30 trillion of value annually, but only 2.8 trillion is accrued on the continent. So, and she broke down like why, how, and why, right? And the system, out of, after post World War II, the Bretton Woods system, and like that's, yeah, how these systems have created a lopsided arrangement, pretty much an arrangement where no matter the productivity, I mean, we can't even become industrialized one. We are just like a gas station where like you just get oil, you get fuel, you get mineral resources, and your economy is structured in such a way that you are selling these resources for so cheaply that, yeah, it is ridiculous. It is just insane. Um, yeah, find this thread, read if you've not seen it. It is insightful, and I'm working on we're working on a video, right? Let me, we're working on a video that is talking about. I mean, that we alluded to just the biological weapons that most of these developed nations have, and how, if they get unleashed, they can decimate a lot of African population and whatnot, right? And even potentially drive us to extinction. So basically, like that's what the video is trying to establish, that we are in very treacherous time. We are in dangerous time. We are confronted. We are facing dangers that are so that are so little, right? That if we don't, we're in extremis basically, right? Like we're in a situation where, like, if we don't take critical action, yeah, we'll perish. And this video is, I mean, this tweet is just a reminder. Experiments like this are going on, dangerous gain of function research on, just to see how um, a virus can, how fast a virus can replicate a dangerous virus in, like, all these secret labs and whatnot. So, like this paper, and I just think it's just something to be mindful of, that we are quote unquote just chilling, or being nonchalant. Yes, being nonchalant, while incredible things are taking place around the world. Things that, if push comes to shove, right, will wipe us out. Things that will wipe us out, and we are just cruising. Yeah, it's insane. Now let's talk about the coloniality of Kenya. But you have to give me a minute again. So my nose is itching me. It's itching me. And I don't know why. Um, I tend to scratch my nose normally, right? But this time around, it's just crazy. Um, it's too much. They say, I think there is a thing, right? Like, if your nose is itching, you should be expecting money. Trying to check online. I don't know. Maybe I'll I'll look into that later. But yeah, obviously, like, anyway, where are we? Yeah, we want to talk about Kenya, the colonial nature of Kenya. So there is this New York Times investigation that I missed it when it was released, but um, I stumbled on it this week, and this is a good place to start. And like, last week we talked about, it's just, you can't trust these institutions, these foreign media outfits, right? You can't trust their reporting, But at the same time, they are the ones making the um doing performing investigations like this, right? The lead poisoning that is currently going on in an area in Nigeria. We talked about that last week. And again, people are dying, people have died, people will die, and the world continues, right? Like, even though the government, the people, the nation is aware that there is something toxic going on in like this place, but the operation continues. So yeah, like, and it's similar here, right? Like, it makes you wonder, right? Like that. Well, like obviously, we've answered that question, and that's again why we are doing what we are doing. We are building the revolutionary muscle, for ourselves primarily, right? And eventually, when push comes to shove, we are convinced that the masses as well, they will. Why this nose? Yeah, we are convinced that the masses will yeah will follow. So anyway, like, the investigation from New York Times, it's about the current president, the end of state, right? Basically trying to ship as many Kenyans as possible to all these Arab countries, the kafala system, just trying to cheap labor, basically, like selling the people out, or like enslaving the people, indentured slavery, things along those lines. And people wonder, at least some people, like this tweet, right? Which is quite, where is it? Where is this tweet? Hmm. Hmm. I'm looking for a tweet. Found it. So yeah, like, so like, there was this incident. I don't know. Again, the I don't know if it is legit, but there was this incident, like a taxi driver, a Kenyan in Dubai, that was harassed and whatnot. So this tweet tries to explain what happened, and despite all this, right, how Kenyans, Africans are being abused, without recourse in all these Gulf nations, and yet, um, our governments, right, they keep selling the people out. But there is a particular thing that stood out. It said that Kenyans are not disposable. And this is the misconception. We assume that to these people, right, these coons, these sellouts, these managers of the colonial system, that we are not disposable. Our ancestors were disposable to them because they are playing their historical role. Our ancestors were disposable to them, and we are definitely disposable to them. Again, we have to understand the that we are in a system that what it is optimizing for is basically how much it can extract, how much resources. That's basically that is its goal, end to end, right? How much it can extract and get away with. That is the priority. That is the raison d'etre, raison d'etat of the state. That is the essence of the state. How much resources can I take, pull, and get away with? So if it is the people, if it is the minerals under the ground, above the ground, anything that can be exchanged for value, anything that can be extracted, carted away, will be carted away. So we should see we are chattels, we are properties to these people. When they see us, they are looking at how many cows, how many whatever they have, right? How many, which other, yeah, chicken or horses or whatever, right? Like, or how many cattle they have. That's what we are to them. So again, be conscious. Know that these states are not here to babysit or to not even babysit, to look after our interests, right? So like, and this New York Times investigation, this New York Times investigation, um, wait, let me bypass the paywall. So this guy, this man, right? Apparently, he owns his family owns a substantial share in a big insurance outfit um that is what's even the structure, the nature of like the nature of the business arrangement here. Basically, right? The more the more Africans the Kenyan government ships away, specifically the president right now, the more Africans he ships out, the more this company will make, because they are staffing what do they call them? They are staffing agencies that look for intermediaries basically between Africans and employers, employers in all these Gulf nations, right? They are looking for Africans to come and be domestic staff, things like that, to come and be their slaves, right? Modern day slaves, indentured servants. So the more these staffing agents, right, the more obviously, the more people they find, the more jobs they fill, the more they make. I think they are getting paid $1,000 or so for each role they fill. Also the insurance companies, right? Because these staffing agents, they have to get insurance for all these they have to get insurance for all these Kenyans that they ship away. And now the insurance company, it's like mandatory. The insurance company will get paid for like that, right? So and this Ruto's family has a substantial stake in one of the biggest insurance outfits that is in this space. So basically, that's it. Like it shipped. They said, look at this ridiculous headline. By the way, Ruto secures 13,000 new jobs for Kenyans in Kenya. Secures, or look, you can see the complicity of like the media outfit, right? This is crazy. Instead of Ruto and enslaved 13,000 new Kenyans, 13,000 Kenyans in Qatar. And like I saw another announcement. I just got on to this actually. So like I saw another announcement that he guaranteed 500,000 jobs, or like guaranteed shipping 500,000 Kenyans yearly to Saudi Arabia, and he plans to double that number to like a million. And he said Remittance is now our biggest export. It used to be coffee. As if that's something to be proud of. He said it so proudly. Once you rely heavily on remittance, it's it is glaring, right? That you are shipping your people away to go and work their ass off in foreign lands. You are slavery basically, isn't it? And you are saying it with full, like, oh, previously we were extracting coffee from the land and just exporting that and taking our rent, blah blah blah. Now what we are doing is exporting our people out. Our people, they don't necessarily need to contribute to like the national life, as long as they can ship back dollars, right? So, but their time, their brain, their passion, their land, their homeland, they don't necessarily need they we can take them away from like this, and the value that they could be potentially providing in their homelands, the moving the society forward, contributing enormously to the progress of all Africans, right? It doesn't matter. Let them go to like all these other countries and be servants, to wash plates, to do ridiculous jobs. And the Minister of Labour, he said something so ridiculous. Let me see if I can find it. The Minister of Labour, in this same article, he said, um where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So look at this. Records show that roughly 1 in 10 registered staffing companies in Kenya is owned by a current or former official or political figure. So basically the ruling class, right? Like, and this is just, oh, the registered, the ones that like, oh, they didn't hide their ownership. We know that the numbers like are definitely more. So like somebody even said it in this article, right? In this investigation, that it is only people, because to get to be a staffing agency you need government license, and to be issued that license you need government connections, people who are like connected, right, that are getting this. So basically it is like the whole patronage, rent seeking, gatekeeping model at play here, like, but this time around it's not the natural resources, it is the people directly. Where is this, what this guy said? Yeah, so it's a lot of Kenyans were complaining about like the abuses they were facing in like this Gulf states. And this is no news, right? The kafala system, we know, and we know like historically as well that like Arabs, they've enslaved and they've exploited us. They've done very atrocious stuff to us for over 1,000 years. And again, it is unbelievable that like in this modern time, you and I, we are conscious, we've read, we've seen, and we are allowing stuff like this to continue, to be perpetuated, to for us to like still be exploited this way, right? So look at what the labor secretary is saying, oh, like, because people were complaining that they were being abused, a lot of atrocities. And again, it's just a repetition of what we've experienced, our ancestors, oh, for thousands, over 1,000 years, since our contact with these Arabs, organized Arabs that have been like that. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. He said, he said, our people have an entitlement and attitude culture. Is that even it? Is that it? Wait. This is quite relevant. Anyway, that's not the exact term I'm even looking for, but like this is damning it on its own. But he said that like we are not insufficiently subservient, something like that, right? Like, but I can't find it here. but like I saw it in like the I read this for the first time. So he said Africans are not insufficiently subservient. Insufficiently subservient. That is, yeah, maybe when they kill us all, when we, yeah, maybe by then, maybe when I don't, if we are not insufficiently subservient right now, I wonder when, what the status, what the reality will be when we are sufficiently subservient. But yeah, like you see the media whitewashing the whole thing. Obviously, it's not as if we don't understand or appreciate the fact that these things are more nuanced. We get it, right? That there is unemployment in Kenya, right? And a lot of Africans, this probably if they earn if they are earning 200, I think the average salary or whatever, like if I remember correctly, it's about $250, right? When you go to Saudi Arabia or whatever. Maybe I don't know what the average earnings is like in Kenya, but obviously, right? Maybe it is still you still get to earn relative to not even earning anything and whatnot. So it is nuanced, we get it. But like it doesn't give you the license to just like turn us into a resource. What you don't even this shouldn't be your go-to program, right? Go-to policy to like get people provide nourished with job, I mean provided with job, to provision job for the people, to provision opportunities. Like this is far from it. This is not it. This is ridiculous. We can't constantly we can't build an economy, life around just serving others, not serving ourselves, creating value for ourselves, like our economy, building. Like we just talked about the trade, or we just went through the thread the of the other lady, and she talked about like vis-a-vis all these companies, right? Like and using the barometer, the metrics of like the Western institutions, our productivity is shitty, terrible. And the productivity of all these other developed countries, they are growing exponentially. So how long do you expect us to like continue to live like this, to continue to live like emits, or to continue to live as slaves, when we have all the facilities, the faculty to create abundance, to create value, to create wealth? Anyway, this is just the first. How many minutes have we spent on this? Oh, a minute already. Hey, an hour already. So, I'll try to fast track this, but again, like I already predicted that it's going to last for 2 hours, maybe give or take. But yeah, like I hope it's it's good so far. It's just hard to get feedback. I don't even know if there's anybody on this stream. Is that to tell? Very hard. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I just don't know what I'm doing. But I'll figure it out next. Right? If this is the tool we'll be using going forward, I'll figure out how to track stuff. Yeah. So yeah, like we are still on the subject of the coloniality of the Kenyan state, right? So now this is just again a manifestation, and we shouldn't limit it to shipping people, right? Exploiting our human resources directly. We should also explore just the massive inequality that is a function of the coloniality of the state. I saw this. I saw this. I saw this tweet similarly this week. So, and this is again why we are putting this whole thing together, like, and just talking about the coloniality of Kenya. Like, according to Oxfam, we shouldn't trust Oxfam, but again, let's go with their numbers. 1% of Kenyans own 78% of the country's wealth. I think if you scrutinize more deeply, you would realize that it's maybe even 90, 95%. It will be that outrageous, to be that ridiculous. So just 125 individuals are richer than 43 million Kenyans. Again, this is not surprising. It is outrageous, obviously, but it is not surprising whatsoever. If you have that framework of, oh, African states, gatekeepers, what do? They extract resources. And if you are a state that is just super extractive, not productive, not producing stuff, extract and consume, right? The natural tendencies to the naturally you would have this type of inequality, this massive inequality, because you are not producing. So it is only people who can aggregate, who can monopolize the meager resources available, that will be doing well. And those people will have more and more resources to even continue to perpetuate their monopoly, right? So that's basically what you will get. Again, stay conscious, understand, like, scrutinize the fundamentals of like this state. Once, I mean, do your own, um have your own revolutionary journey, right? Have it, or just follow Nubia Society's manifesto, or like, and again, a lot of African intellectuals, even way back, right? Like, oh, the likes of Walter Rodney, and it's not even our Europe underdeveloped Africa. Like, read a lot of his papers, a lot of his work, a lot of his works. Follow, like, read the Wretched of the Heart, read um African coloniality, read um what's this book I'm trying to um read neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism. Read this stuff, right? And once you do, I promise you, it will be like, wow, wow. Like, you don't even need, basically what I'm saying is that you don't even need like a modern analysis. You don't need Nubia society's analysis to get to the crux of the matter, to like, this thing has been there. This has been the model for like the last 70, 80 years, the neo-colonial model, I mean. And prior to that, obviously, the coloniality, the direct colonization. So I keep on emphasizing this because without your consciousness, all this, what we are doing here is redundant. It's useless, right? It is meaningless. If you are not conscious, why are you listening to this? Or if you don't want to be, right? You shouldn't be wasting your time. This is for people uh who have that inclination. Nubia society members, first and foremost, but like, although also people who have the inclination, who have that, who just know, who get it, that like there is something wrong. And even if they are unable to exactly place what it is, right? Like, but they their consciousness is like evolving, and eventually they are willing to like do the work of analyzing and like coming to like this conclusion themselves. So, because it's only when you have this clarity that you can build a conviction. I mean, you have that conviction, and once you have that conviction, like, every other thing is like straightforward, because you know what you need to do, right? To know one's position is to know one's duty. Yeah. Anyway, there was this video I saw in, um yeah, that I feel it's really it is related, right, to like this whole coloniality of the state, although this is in Nigeria. So I don't know how valid this claim is. But the main thing is there was a guy, like let's assume that this is accurate. And again, this is not surprising whatsoever. There was a man, he came all the way from Germany to like set up an establishment in Nigeria. So he did this for 18 years or so. And all of a sudden, right, like the government decided to demolish stuff because, as he said, the property or his establishment is situated in near a power line, which is maybe inexcusable, right? If this is the case, or you situate your establishment near a power line, that's not the first question is even why would that be possible in the first place, right? Like, but let's just even ignore that. That is not that should not be excused. But the main thing is the claim is now that after the government seized this property, this land, they are now reselling it to other people, right? They destroyed what he had built and they are now reselling the land to like maybe higher bidders, whatever, or their cronies, things along those lines. So again, this is another manifestation. This is just an instance of when you are in a colonial, neo-colonial structure, right? Like the state, all it cares about is how can I this particular asset, this particular resource, how can I exploit it to the best, to not necessarily even like in the best way possible, but like in the most expedient way. So yeah, that's by the way. Anyway, now let's talk about this other guy, this man. So he tweeted this. Said enjoying a cup of hot coffee after watching Arsenal match in Geneva, in my Geneva residence. God bless. I don't know who he is. So like, but Kenyans do apparently. They said he's the head of the Central Organization of Trade Union in Kenya. So he's maintaining a private residence in Geneva, Switzerland. I don't know his like background, like so I don't want to speculate too much. But I'm assuming that like obviously he has not done the kind of work, legitimate work to he has not earned basically like the kind of money to be able to afford this kind of luxury. And yeah, like I think what this Dr. Miguna said is quite relevant, right? Like, so it's they don't even hide it whatsoever anymore, right? Like, and Francis Atwoli has plundered billions of shillings belonging to Kenyan workers. That's the money he wastes in seven-star hotels and he private residents he owns in Geneva and other world capitals. Atwoli should be serving 50 years in jail with Ruto, Uhuru and their fellow plunderers. Again, I don't want us to be rehashing like all these things. And like what we are doing, we are not talking for talking sake. We are building our revolutionary muscle. That's what we are doing here. So, by digressed. Um, to be the head of the trade union, right? It is a big responsibility because let's say you are the head of the unions in the country. That means like all Africans that are trading, you are responsible for like them and their interest, right? The, so if they get exploited, if millions of people are being exploited, and how would I even put it? If they are being cheated, if they are not getting value, if they are just, if their lives are just wasting away, whatever, right? You are responsible for redressing this, correcting this. But no, like you are a sellout, and um, it speaks to. It is not again surprising. It's just the neo-colonial nature of things, right? What is and again, even the fact that they can do this like so flagrantly is again and let's not dwell on this too much. It's just, oh, like, again, another data point, another pointer. This is another uh this whole thing. If you put it all together, you can just, like, if you this another piece of the puzzle, right? Like that. Oh, even I mean, the agents, the people who are interfacing between the masses and the, like, foreign interest, maybe the masses, the coffee marketing boards, things like that, right? Like those kind of people, they are usually even they are the biggest sellouts of the people that are meant to be responsible for, like, protecting the interest of the people, right? They sell the people out. They sell the people out. They exploit the labor, the naivety, the goodness of the masses, of the African masses, because, like, everything, by the way, if you are unaware, right, like, everything that is good about Africa is because of the African masses. Any goodness you see out of Africa is because of the African masses, not the African elites, right? Not the African intellectuals. Like, it's the African masses. Everything. The African masses, like, they are the um uh what how would I put it? They matter the most, for lack of a better term, right? Everything we do should be fundamental, should be primarily in the service of, like, the African masses, because they are the ones driving, they are the ones that you call Africa, the race, everything, right? They are the I'm still looking for that thing. But you should get what I mean, right? So this is the biggest betrayal, betraying the masses, the toiling masses this way, and, like, flaunting it without feeling, like, oh, you will be penalized, you will be, yeah, you will be penalized for such audacity. It shows that, like, the coloniality has gotten to, like, a certain level. But this is this is this is, like, good news, right? Because it just shows, it demonstrates that the contradictions, the internal contradictions, like, they are like they are worsening by the day. They are becoming more and more untenable. So it will get to that point where, like, oh, push will come to shove. The chicken will finally come home to roost, and, like, the masses will have their final say. So finally, right, like, let's watch this video of the what a prominent hotel chain, Ritz Carlton, is doing in, like, the Masai Mara in Kenya. This is again another, it speaks to, like, just the neo-colonial state of things. But let's watch this video first. So I'm not sure if the last time I shared the video with audio, the audio was muted. So hopefully, right, this can be heard. But yeah, like in Kenya, apparently this hotel chain has planted like it planted a building or like a set of a bunch of buildings on the migratory paths, or is it migration paths, whatever, right, of the wildebeests and all these animals that like for eons, for millenniums, right, like they have a route and they have a pattern, yearly something that is. Anyway, these people they went ahead, they are obstructing that now. What kind of a ridiculous country allow for such a thing? Not the country itself, but like the set of leaders allow for such a thing. It is not the people here, right? Like, or obviously you can indict. It's an indictment on all of us as Africans, right? That we see like this neo-coloniality, this insanity is still being perpetuated. Being still being it's still it's still an everyday reality for us. But anyway, let's see what Lane said. She said, I feel it deeply that in the next 5 years, these thieves hiding behind the word conservancy will be packing their bags and heading back to their countries. So like how did we even get here? Let me provide more context, right? Like so apparently there is a racket. I watched an interview that Lynn did with Mr. Mordecai, right? Is a conservationist. So they talked about just the rackets. They will package, they will come in the name of conservation and use that to get a lot of land. Um, yeah, like as she said, yeah, like many of these conservancies are privately owned. They register them as NGOs, but like they are trust, but they still move like businesses, and they are foreign owned, right? And the government allow for this thing. So like they privatize thousands of acres of lands belonging to the indigenous people, right? In the name of conservation, they chase these people away, they chase these people out of these lands. And again, it's just like we are rehashing history because Kenya in particular, right, like experienced settler colonization. And again, this is why I said earlier, right? I try to allude to the fact that Kenya's the nature of the nature of the colonialism that Kenya experienced is not necessarily comparable with what like Ghana, for instance, experienced, right? And this is a function of the fact that in Kenya, there were areas that were palatable, suitable for settlement of the Europeans, and they chased a lot of Africans out of like these places. They called these places. I think the word they used then was white islands, right? So they took away a lot of the land. I think it was over 70% of the fertile land in Kenya. Then like grazing areas that the Maasai, the Kikuyus, these groups of Africans were like their ancestral land basically, and they gave it to the Europeans. Like they shared it among themselves. So like that was our past history. Some Africans like Kimati, they fought, they sacrificed their life. They created a movement to just recover, to be able to recover these lands. And again, that's another story, right? Like that movement was betrayed largely by the the some other Africans and the African elite and whatnot. But yeah, we'll probably revisit that some other time. The main thing is now that same old is being re-experienced, it's being reintroduced. It's like, oh, a deja vu kind of thing, right? Like that. How can you repeat the same history, and not a very good history, right? Not a good history. How can you repeat a nightmare? Like, how can you do you get what I mean? Like, you experience something so atrocious, something so, like, something that was so costly, something that ruined our ancestors economically and culturally, because land matters. Land matters. Land matters to, like, the African identity, to the African culture, the worldview. The land is has a special place in our cosmological worldview, in our philosophy, in our, yeah, in the way we move, in the way we interpret, like, even epistemologically, land matters a lot. So now, in the name of conservation, right? People are playing like people are playing a people are running, uh, how will I put it? A con. People are running a con on us. It is not okay for one family or one foreign company to own hundreds of acres of native land in the name of wildlife protection. That's the racket, that's the con. Oh, we want to protect wildlife. Then you use this to, like, you get these concessions from, like, the governing, the ruling class, basically, because obviously they are rent seekers. So they are your managers. They are managing, like, these entities, or like these entities we call states. They are managing them for you, so you can easily go and meet them and, like, oh, I need this. So but you have to present it in a way that is, at least past um the it passes the what's the word, it passes a basic test, sha. I So anyway, um I digressed a bit. That's basically the game. And it is, again, it's just another demonstration, another it's just it's terrible, basically. It's terrible. It's just, oh, this is another pointer to the fact that the coloniality of things, like, it's just ridiculous. We've talked about exploiting our labor, our labor directly. We've talked about um, we've talked about exploiting trade unions, to exploiting the African masses, their labor, inside the country, like, they maybe, and exploiting their labor externally, right? Now, we are talking about the exploitation of the land of the people, displacing the people, encroaching on their land, and all it points to is just the coloniality of things, of the coloniality of things. It's just, but why we are doing what we are doing, right? Like, to put an end to this coloniality, to establish a new world order. Yeah. I need a minute. I need to take a break. Then we'll continue. Now let's talk about the Sahel insurgency, and we'll call it a day. So we'll try to um yeah. Anyway, so again, take all this the material I'm going to be sharing, right? Take the op-eds, the articles, the analysis. Take them all with, how will I even put it? Take it all with a pinch of salt, because most of this most of this stuff are produced by foreign interests and heavily propagandized. But it is what it is. So we want to talk about just the insurgency, the current insurgency in the Sahel region. For additional context, right? The Sahel region is like it's like the area around the Sahel, right? Just below the Sahel, but like before the tropics of Africa, like before sub-Saharan Africa, uh, proper. So like there are states like Niger, Mali, all leading all the way to like Eritrea itself. Like if you can trace it all the way. Like let me try and see if I can show a map. So yeah, like Senegal, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, Eritrea, like so all these countries, right? So and there are certain characteristics like if the climate specifically, right? Like that all these countries share, and it's partly responsible, like for the current situation, right? The movements in the political movements, or the armed movements in this region. So yeah, like uh, they are experiencing crazy climate changes, and it's affecting their pastoral life, farm, um, animal husbandry, farming, things along those lines, right? And as a result, these places, particularly countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, where like with and even Chad, right? Like these countries are landlocked, right? They do not have access to the coast. So and that's like a sort of that's it has it's an handicap. Yeah, like it's a disadvantage. It's a big disadvantage, and that's why we Pan Africanists and we know that these African countries, some of them have been set up to fail, right? Like if you can't access the sea, um, you you know you are in a precarious position, especially if you get denied access. But you can't airlift everything you need, right, externally. Obviously, you can try as much as possible to be as self-sufficient as possible. But anyway, like that's a topic for another day. The fact that even geographically, a lot of these African states are untenable. But like that's not the topic for today. Like the main thing is that like this this region like is some of like the it's one of the most it's one of the poorest, not only in like the world but even in Africa, right? And the government, right, like particularly places that are far removed from like this capital, like in Mali, that's Bamako, in Niger, Niamey, in Burkina Faso, Ugadugu. Um, uh, anyway, um, This if these places are mostly remote, right? So the government have basically abandoned them to their own devices. And so it's not surprising, right? Like they are like, oh, people trying to their grievances, basically their grievances, they are like the government is already illegitimate. Like the government is only interested in exploiting the natural resources on these lands, like that's the uranium, the gold, the yeah, like those resources. As long as they have access, they don't care. The people can go to hell, right? And like that's basically the model. The gatekeeper model. Like, oh, we are managers. We are managers for foreign interest. So we make foreign concessions. They give us. We can take loans like for the future. They can take as much minerals as they want. Just like we take a cut on like that for like facilitating the entire process. Yeah, that's like the model, right? That's the modus operandi. So anyway, because of like this reality, a combination of like these factors, right? Poverty, like the climate conditions, like the abandonment, like the negligence, the how would I put it? Like the government leaving them to like their own devices lightly, right? It has created like this the conditions, like the internal contradictions in these places are like in particularly in the Sahel region, like it has reached like a point where um there is there is a there is an um uh, it's even it's there is basically like a a vibrant political resistance to like there's a vibrant political resistance to 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 like the government of the day, right? So that's the first thing I want us to like bear in mind, right? That this so-called insurgencies in we've not even talked about like the Islamic nature of, or like at least the label that they they apply to like these insurgents, right? Like they call them Islamist, Islamic extremists, something like that, right? Um, anyway, um, yeah, like the internal contradiction is like is worsening. So the people, they have no choice, or like at least like it is fostering that condition where like oh, their resistance is happening. So but and the people, right, like um in the absence of a political vehicle, to like to a political vehicle to carry their frustration forward, right? Like the vacuum, the vacuum has been filled by the so-called Islamic fund extremism, right? And again, and this is why I want us to like see it in a different light, right? Like what is going on in the Sahel right now, because like there is this specific article that is quite um, there is because like obviously like the coups that happened in the last 2 years in like in these regions, the coups as a result of but maybe we'll get there. Like I just wanted to like point out that it is highly likely that Burkina Faso might be overrun. So like 60% of the territories right now are controlled by like these so-called extremists, right? So like they are making headway. They are building they are building a state within a state, for lack of a better word, right? They are building like a state. So, and the reason why they've been able to like gain this kind of momentum again is because there's a political vacuum, and in the absence of like a better alternative, right? Like Islam is filling that vacuum for these people. Islam is providing the answer. So like anyway, like I've been going around in circles. What I'm basically trying to say is that this these insurgents, these insurgencies, they are actually political movements. They are um they are trying to they are trying to articulate and find a an answer based on their own worldview, trying to find an answer to the problem that is currently that they are currently facing, right? The problem of poverty, problem of climate, the problem of like abandonment by like the government, these things. So there needs to be an answer, and the answer right now is jihad, is fighting a war with the current establishment. That is the tool that like the people have access to. So like once you see it from like that point of view, yeah, because it's similar to like our reality as well, right? Like in particularly we in the capitals, or like we in like the coastal areas, like the richer plains of Africa, the richer places, like places where like the rent seekers, they can continue to just extract oil, or like control shipping routes, things like that, right? Like yeah, so you still have a bit more leeway. Like in the Sahel region, apparently, right? Like things are like even more more serious, right? Like for the people, like the people's situations are more precarious. So, like, as a result, you have like these movements, this legitimate grievances, like this legitimate movement that like have buy-in, like with the people. Maybe not the vast majority, and maybe not people in the capital, right? Like, but like largely people in like the periphery, people in the interior, like in the rural areas, people that like have been abandoned by like the government, right? So they need there's a vacuum, and the JNIM, or the Islamic states of, well, what are they called? Islamic Islamic State of the Greater Sahara, right? This 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 outfit, they are I don't, what however they started, right? Like now they have gained land share, mind share. They have gained like they have a certain form of legitimacy. So they are not necessarily just quote and unquote terrorists. They are like they are representing the grievances of like they have a constituency. Basically, that's what I've been trying to say all along. They have a constituency. Their consistency are like the people in those places. So, and they are like speaking for like those people, and like they are speaking the way they know, what they, with what they have, with what they know. So like it is the responsibility of like, oh, if you don't like, I mean, you might not buy in, you might not agree with their ideology, but you can't deny the fact that there are grievances. If you are conscious, if you are a revolutionary, you know that there are grievances. So it is your responsibility, it's our responsibility to provide better answers for like the people. If we don't like the ideology that they represent, the ideology that they are pushing. In the absence of that, right? Like in the absence of that, they are like are the best answer right now to like what is going on across the continent. At least people are pushing back. At least we have Africans, like even though they are, again, obviously, like we are if this is a revolutionary competition, right? Like if it's a form of revolutionary beauty contest or something, right? Like we can we can be trying to split the we can be trying to split atoms, or like for lack of a better term. What in essence what I'm trying to say is that like we can't deny the legitimacy of like their struggle. We can criticize, we can correct, we can analyze the the ideology, but that's let's put that in the back burner. The main thing is that like there are grievances, and there are people out there right now, other Africans, resisting, in rebelling against this colonial system, against this rent seeking model. you might be curious and ask that, like, what about like the coups in like these countries, right? Like in these states, the coups and like the are those people not representing the interests of like the people now? Well, um, suffice it to say that as long as the gatekeeping model is not dismantled, as long as the gatekeeping model is not dismantled, the grievances of the people will remain, the internal contradiction will remain, because the essence of the gatekeeping model is to just extract, not to empower the people, right? It's to exploit the people. So, like, if that's the fundamental model, right? Like, if that's the framework, no matter what, you can change the managers, but you can't. You are not changing the system itself fundamentally. So, like, and as long as the system endures, like the disenfranchisement, the exploitation, over exploitation of the people, the ruination of the people will persist, right? So anyway, um, in fact, it is an indictment on like us. It is an indictment on other movements, movements to emancipate, to liberate Africans from like this coloniality. It is an indictment because um, these people are representing our consistency. These people are fighting. Again, we might not agree with their ideology, but they are gaining territory. They are trying to like enforce their own rule of law. They are creating. They have a program. They are fighting. They are fighting. They are fighting the the colonialists. Maybe it's more nuanced, like everything, right? That's why we separate theory from praxis. um, Theoretically, we can be more finical, right? But in actual anyway, for the sake of this conversation, um what I'm trying to present to you is just that, like, as long as we pan-Africanists, we who want to dismantle the neocoloniality of like the African states and liberate the African masses, as long as we don't take political action, as long as we don't organize, as long as we don't provide a legitimate program for the people, then those insurgents in the Sahel, or like, let's say, Cabo Verde um in in Mozambique, or is it Madagascar? Yeah, in Mozambique. Those are the best answers. Those are the ans those how will I put it? Those are the uh those are like the most pragmatic, or the most expedient alternatives for like the masses, right? So it's an indictment on like us. We need to like create programs. We need to organize. We need to like yeah, like, basically we need to like build better alternatives. Like, we need to provide better solutions, better answers. We need to and like, you might have different notions on how to like achieve this, right? But at least organize, start doing the work. And the first thing is like, oh, build your conviction. Then the people who are buying, the people who you see that are doing the work, organize with them. Um, obviously that should be Nubia society, right? Because, like, again, read our program. You would see why, like, based on our analysis of like the status quo and just our approach to like this struggle, this work of liberation. But like, if you're not prepared to like do that, if you're not prepared to like be engaged in like this struggle, in this badly needed struggle for like the emancipation of the African masses, like from this enslavement, if you If you are not prepared to like do that, then you don't have the effrontery to like critique those insurgents. That's basically what yeah, that's basically the message. So yeah, just take it as they are the leading political movements in Africa today. They are the ones opposing this status quo. They are engaged in an actual struggle. You in an actual struggle. You might disagree with their methods again, but they are struggling. They are struggling. Yeah, let's leave it at that. So we discussed a bunch of stuff about Nigeria, the coloniality of Kenya, then the Sahel insurgency, and a bunch of other stuff. So I think we've spent considerable time today. Hopefully, it's worth your while. Check out. It's almost 2 hours. Check out as I anticipated. So check out Nubia Society, nubiasociety.github.io. Um, yeah, and don't forget to scrutinize, scrutinize, then organize, scrutinize, organize, scrutinize, and organize. That's what we need. So yeah, I'll see you next week. All things being equal.